Because it
Hello.
always just does that blue thing. It doesn't get, yeah, we're live. Like, that's all right. Yeah.
Good morning. We are your Blue Line group with your Blue Line Wives Roll Call podcast. I'm Shannon Gilbert with Emarge Real Estate.
I'm Jamie Wright with Wright Dobbo Insurance. And not on.
I am Amy Lewis with Priority Mortgage.
Welcome, Amy.
And I'm with you.
Listen,
Good morning.
we'll get it together, I promise. We are coming to you live from LEPD Firearm and Range off of Bethel Road right here in Columbus, Ohio.
And for those of you that don't know who we are a team of
Dedicated
needs
law
help.
enforcement.
Oh, goodness. This is going to tell you what kind of show it's going to be today.
We had
We are
bloopers last week. We're going to have bloopers again this week.
I'm already crying. We are a dedicated team of law enforcement families specializing in real estate, financial, and insurance services, fervent about creating ongoing professional relationships and giving back to our first responder families.
I just love coming here every
yes.
Thursday. But I want to say something very important. Your fun this weekend inspired me to do something.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
Yes.
what'd you do?
You said you're fun?
Her fun.
Oh, her fun.
Yeah, her pictures. You look like you had a really great time. So it made me stop and think. We all know hundreds, maybe even thousands of people, but most of those people come into our lives for a reason and a season, right? So I want to throw out a challenge to people today because this made me think.
I like this.
Your friend for a long time.
Don't make me cry.
No. I just want to throw out a challenge. You may have a long distance friend, someone who's very important to you. Maybe the reason why someone is only with you for a season is time, distance, or maybe you just don't mesh, and that's okay. So my challenge to all of the viewers today is reach out to your long distance friend, someone who is obviously a very good friend like what you had.
Yeah.
And you look like you had fun. So reach out to them. Second of all, if you have that person in your life that absolutely makes you miserable, and we all have people like that surrounding us in our lives at one time or another, reach out to them. Show them love. I know as being a person of Christian faith that I am to portray the love of Jesus through my actions to other people and through the love that I show them, whether they know it or not, whether they appreciate it or not. It doesn't matter. The only person that it matters that you're showing that love to is Jesus. He's the only one that matters, that you show that love to those people who might need that. You don't know why they need it, but they need it.
Oh, that's sweet.
So that's my challenge to all of you
That
this
is
week.
sweet,
And we have a special
I'm totally
guest
opposite.
today.
I won't reach out to people I haven't talked to in a
Don't
while.
worry. I love you, and I will
That's why we're
always
different.
show you love.
But and this is why we're all so good together. Because Shannon always comes into the left like.
Yes, veering off track. But we have a guest today. So Jamie, introduce our guest because this is
Yes.
an exciting time.
We will finally get to you, Heather.
That's fine. I've just been listening. I feel like it's almost a wrap after that. I'm not sure how I'm going to follow anything she had to say.
No, trust me. You will all benefit from listening to our friend Heather today.
Yes. So please, everybody, welcome Heather Powell. She is a partner at the Edwards Group right over at Easton. Super close. Heather is also a fellow Licking County resident. And she is a chair-elect with the Licking County, the Chamber of Commerce. Shout out to the Licking County Chamber of Commerce for all that you do for our businesses. You guys are a lot of fun as well.
Yes.
Way to get that in there, Jamie.
Well,
It's
they
true.
came,
They're super fun.
they
They are
came to
fun.
your grand opening, and they did a
Yes.
fabulous job.
That's
and I was
right.
very impressed with them. And I have a friend who's opening a business also in
Yeah.
Licking County, and I told her the same thing. Hit up the chamber. They
Yep.
are a fantastic group, and they will come and support you.
They really are fantastic. But the biggest, one of the biggest contributions to our show is that she is also a fire wife. So she gets this lifestyle. She completely understands the needs that we all have. We were just talking before the show about the scheduling. Scheduling anything outside of work time is sometimes very difficult. So go ahead and tell us a little bit first about what it's like to be married to your firefighter and how
Yes.
long you've been married.
Yes. So I've been married to my husband for, oh my goodness, going on 8 years now. But I've been with him really the whole time he's been at his department. So he has been there since 2007. We met a few months after. actually at a fundraising event. Shout out to the Fill the Boot campaigns for MDA. That's where we met.
That's
so
awesome.
Yep.
met, fell in love. We've got a beautiful 4-year-old boy, and my husband's a rock star. I think all of us would probably say the same thing.
Depending on what day.
Yes, I mean that's true. I wasn't
Shannon
going to
with
say
that
that.
That left
Just
hook, man.
in case.
Keep it real.
I did tell him I'd be here today, so in case he's listening, we're going to go with he's a rock star every day.
My husband is perfect every day, and I love you more than anything.
Right, just a plug. But yeah, he's awesome. And I feel like when you enter into any of the first responder spaces, you really become a part of a second family. And I feel like that's what I have with our fire family. And have had for, my goodness, now we've dated since 2007, so about 12 years now. We've lived in Licking County for most of that time. 2009, we moved there, and we have a great network in that community too.
Yeah.
And I've been in the financial services space for probably close to 7 years now. So most of the time that I've been married to my husband, I've been working in this space.
Yeah.
So
What department does he work for?
he's with New Albany, Plain Township Fire Department. And like
Shout
I
out
said,
to New Albany.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And they've got big things going on tomorrow, so I'm hoping I'll get to share just a brief thing about that as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, and I know that when we met, I mean, we really hit it off, A. But B, she told me a story about Bo, and it's one of those stories, it's almost like when you watch a really good movie and you're super motivated afterwards, or it really leaves an impression on your heart. I think there were some tears, and there was some.
So is Bo her husband?
Mm-mm.
No.
And I'll let her tell the story about Bo. But
Yeah, I thought she said Matt, and I was a little lost there for a minute.
Yeah.
Glad you asked
Mark.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mark. But Matt, he'll go by whatever you say.
But
Sorry, Mark.
in our lifestyle, and I mean generally speaking, but especially for what we do, it kind of emphasizes the fact that it is crucial to be prepared. I mean, I'll leave it with that, and I'll let you tell the story. But just in the line of work that our spouses are in, and what that means for us. So. If you want to shed a little bit of light on that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and this is a pretty fun-loving show, so I'm going to try to be as positive as I can be. This is one of those stories that's sort of emotional, and it tugs at your heartstrings a little bit. So my husband's been a firefighter at Plain Township for, like I said, close to 12 years now. And the department's pretty young in age, really. So they had their first retiree just a few weeks ago. So in many years. So it was sort of a young department in age, lots of young families. And about 2 years ago, we lost one of the firefighters at my husband's department, Bo. It was very sudden. He was off duty. It was unexpected. He was very healthy, one of the most fun-loving, good-natured guys you could ever meet. He's a single dad raising a beautiful son.
How old was Bo?
He was in his 30s, pretty young. And he meant a lot to all of us. He was really that guy that was gregarious, and he always had this big personality. But I think standing the day of his funeral there with the other wives and really thinking about what the future would look like for his awesome son going forward, it posed a lot of questions. And we are really blessed, and his son and his family are infinitely blessed that the fire family really came together and helped us support his son and helped to build a future for him beyond this. But I think it posed questions about, who is your beneficiary? How do you have things structured? How are things set up? Because the future can be pretty uncertain if you haven't taken those steps. And I think in his case, maybe some of those steps were missed or just got left behind. But I think that sort of a review is just so important for families, because you never know when the unexpected could happen. And we all hope and pray it doesn't, right? I mean, we all hope that we're invincible and we're well trained and we're prepared, and it's never going to happen. But when it does, I think you don't want to be on the side of dependency upon the rest of your network. You want yourself and your family to be able to proceed forward in a healthy way. And I
we
think
all
that
live
matters.
It does, and we all live that lifestyle where anything can change in the blink of an eye,
It can.
and it can turn your entire world upside down in those that love you.
Well, I think when you're younger, because you said he was early 30s, I think you just think it's not going to happen to you. You're young, you're healthy,
You're
the rest of your
invincible.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I think the thing we were talking about earlier is, when you're young, you're starting out, you're in the fire service or law enforcement or military even, and you're starting this new career, you're getting your first paychecks. You're not thinking about that long-term picture at that point. You're trying to build a family and grow a life, and and it's just low on the totem pole, I guess, in terms of all your other priorities out there. I think the other thing is that, I mean, candidly, we all every day have to think of our spouse as invincible, or it'd be awfully hard to send them out the door.
Sure.
And I think for them, it's the same way, right? There's a gut check there. You have to think nothing's going to happen to me. Because if you thought otherwise, it'd be pretty hard to wake up and go to work every day. So I think you don't want to plan for something that's that uncertain in your future.
Yeah.
So my shameless plug, too, is that tomorrow is the golf outing to help memorialize Bo and
It's
to
tomorrow?
support his son.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it just happens to be tomorrow. So they have big things happening there at the
that's
department.
awesome.
So where's the tomorrow? Where is it at?
She'll get back to you on that.
I'll get back to you. How
So-
about I post it in the
There
comments
you go.
afterwards?
Yeah.
So if
That's
somebody's
perfect.
just starting out with their
Yep.
family, like, what do you suggest that they do? Like, what's a plan that they begin?
So I always tell people a team is important, right? So all of us sitting here, we're part of that team. I think you have to find folks that want to get behind you and understand your lifestyle and know what that looks like for you. So not just finding someone who's in the financial services sector, but also finding someone who does insurance and somebody who can help you with your mortgage lending and somebody who can help you buy a home. Those sort of relationships become the foundation of what is the first step. After you've done that, I think then you start thinking about a more structured plan. You're putting into place a longer term financial strategy for you and your family. You make sure your beneficiaries are in order. You get a will in place.
Yes.
I mean, there's just some really basic fundamental steps. But I think that relationship building is probably the first step. You've got to find people you trust and like that you want to talk to and that
Exactly.
both of you are comfortable with. I think that
Exactly.
is like the critical component is you both have to like and trust those people.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like, how do you plan? Like, so you're raising a family, you're young. How do you plan for the future and save money?
I
in
think
today's society, keeping up with the Joneses.
you're right.
I mean, seriously, like, it's really hard. I know we struggled back in the day when I had, 3 kids before I had 4. I mean, you really couldn't save a whole lot.
I think that's the piece that is becoming increasingly difficult. A lot of financial services or wealth management teams, you hear that word wealth and it's like, oh boy, that's probably not me. And I felt that way too. I shopped for a team to work with when I was looking because to have a minimum requirement of X dollars for me to help you plan or for someone else to help you plan is really difficult when you're young and starting a family. I think you have to find a team that's willing to take you on early in that life cycle and don't think of it as such a big goal. Set earlier goals and steps along the way that you're going to achieve. It doesn't have to be created overnight. Really, this should be a working plan that's going to adjust over time. So you sit down and you say, we're going to do $100 a month. We're going to carve out $100 a month that we're going to invest and we're going to benefit from that compounding interest over time.
Well,
Starting small is important.
Well, and with that, don't look at your financial statements, along the way. I will say, though, that when I started doing my investments, it was in my 20s, by the way, which was really smart. But it was made easy because generally your employer is going to have something or somebody for you to contact. So that'd probably be the first place that I would start. And then a lot of people have this impression, like last week we talked about myths, but a lot of people have the impression when I go talk to a financial services person, it's going to be really overwhelming and they're going to ask me to give them a bunch of money and it's going to cost me a bunch of money to do this.
Right.
All of those are myths. First, there's no fee to go meet with a financial service person. And second, when I sat down with one of the partners at the Edwards Group, I mean, that conversation was just so candid and it made me feel very comfortable. And I mean, she literally took a piece of paper and was like, okay, this is your first goal. My very first goal was to get a fireproof safe. That was my first goal. And then there was like 2 other things underneath it that I needed to do before we met again. And then, okay, we've got all these crossed off. Okay, now what can we do? Then we got these things crossed off. Okay, now what can we do? And she was even so cool to say, you know what, Jamie? Sometimes you're
animated.
your time, the time is more valuable than your money. And I was like, what?
I agree with that.
What are you talking
It's
about?
true. I
And
agree
then
with that.
I had no idea what she was talking about then. I mean, I do now, 2 kids later.
Yeah.
But, maybe you should look at maybe getting some help around your house or, and whatever that meant for me or for you. So, I mean, it's almost like I left there thinking like, wow, like I have goals and I have, they're super attainable. And, we looked at my financial forecast, what that meant for me at retirement age. And then they kind of start there and then work their way back. So
Right,
it's
right.
very, it's not intimidating.
So it doesn't cost
Yeah.
to meet, but how much does your services cost if you do go into the program?
So if it's someone like myself, every individual is different. So if you're shopping, know that every individual person has something different in how they
Is it like a
charge. But
percentage? A fixed-
ours is a percentage of what you have with us. So, and we do not have a minimum. So you can come in and become a client and start investing on a monthly basis and really kind of get your feet wet in that process. And I think oftentimes we will even meet with you the first time and just say, you know what, here's all the steps you need to take, but we're not quite ready
Yeah.
to even start investing.
Yeah.
Let's do all
Yeah.
this first and come back in 6 months.
Yeah.
So I think that's the piece that it has to be a non-intimidating process because you have to be pretty vulnerable in this meeting.
Yeah.
You've got to expose all your financial
Yeah.
secrets, and none of
Sure.
us love to do that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I deal with that on
So-
a daily basis, and it can be very stressful for both parties involved.
Absolutely.
But if somebody wants to start with some type of financial plan, that 1st of all, they're never too young to start with something, some kind of goals that they want to attain. If they want to meet with you or someone in a position like you, what would be the best way for them to prepare for like your first meeting?
That's a good one.
That's a great question. I think the best thing you can do is gather up all your financial statements, right? So your regular bank statements, if you have insurance policies, ask too, if you're really young, ask mom and dad if they've ever had a life insurance policy for you. Is this something that you had? Ask your employer what plan they have. Jamie mentioned that earlier. And typically, first responders in the state of Ohio are part of a pension and deferred comp program. So they're going to have a program of their own. You will likely also have a program at your employer. So get all those documents together as a first step and then set up the appointment, come in with all your documents. And that'll make the process a little smoother and a little less intimidating too.
Sure.
And no amount is too small. Even if all you have is a savings, if you have a job, start saving something, and someone in a position like Heather can help you with a plan of where to go and where to start.
And a lot of employers have matching programs where they're going to match what you do into your own plan there. So in many ways, it's sort of like free money that's accessible to you. You might as well participate and leverage those free dollars from your
Yeah.
employer.
So being Leo wives, our officers, they have like a type A personality control. So how do you deal with somebody that doesn't really want to come to you with their financial issues, or they just think they can just take care of it themselves or work extra special? Like, how do you deal with that situation?
So one thing that I have put a lot of focus on and what has become critically important to me in working in the first responder space is that I think both spouses need to be at the table for that conversation. And if at the end of the conversation it is, hey, we're going to do this ourselves, that's fine, but you need to make that choice together and you both need to know what's going to happen next. It can't be a one-sided conversation. Both of you have to know what that process is going to look like and be on the same page about it. So a lot of times that's the entry point, is let me be the voice between the two of you to help navigate that conversation and provide just a little bit of education on the backside. Here's some things that I know that might be helpful as you're doing your planning. So even if it's you independently that want to take that on, I can be on the backside of that,
Sure.
helping to provide just some general education about, let's say, the pension system or
Yeah.
what that looks like.
Just guiding them through.
Right.
Yeah, or
Exactly.
even if education is a strong word for you at this point because you're not ready to hear that, like let somebody organize things for you.
Yeah.
And because I would know if I was doing this myself, like A, I'm not trying to log on every 5 minutes to something, and B, like I would have no idea where to start. Again, get a fireproof safe box.
Jamie's tip of
Okay.
the
Well, I
day.
imagine most Leo officers do have a safe.
Yeah.
For your documents.
You can put. I put my documents in our safe.
Yeah, we have a
It's a huge-
separate one that is a fireproof, and
Yeah.
then we have the bigger one
Yeah.
for all of the
But you're,
the hobby things.
You're right. There's probably safes all over your house.
There actually is, but I'm saying,
You're set up.
we all
You're
have a
good.
safe. At least you have somewhere to start.
Put your stuff in there.
Yeah,
But I
So,
didn't have one.
You know, we've talked a lot about people who are just starting out. It's never too early to start, talking with somebody and trying to figure out a plan. But how often do you meet with people? Because you've got people with different stages of life, obviously. I'm thinking about college. I've been thinking about college for probably about 15 years now. But how often do you plan to meet with people? Do you set up long-term strategies with them face to face? Because it seems like in general, this wouldn't be something that's just a one and done topic, and life needs change.
Absolutely. Life is fluid, so you should meet with your advisor every time that you have advisor, planner, financial services representative, whoever it is. You should meet with them at least once a year, I would say. And then beyond that, if something big changes in your life, you have a child, you change jobs, you should contact them and get back together because life does change. So if you college tomorrow, it's a new goal that you need to
Right.
I wanted to loop back to something else, though, too. I think one of the things that's really appealing to a lot of people in both the law enforcement and the fire space is that oftentimes by contacting someone in the financial services sector, they can actually better leverage what's available to them. So
That's
it's not
true.
just about education. It's about taking full advantage of all the resources that you have. And sometimes just getting another perspective on that can help you see where there's additional opportunity to better leverage what's accessible to you.
So you're looking at the individual as a whole on everything they have available
Yes.
to them, not just the savings account they bring to you or what their goal is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think there's this misnomer about what comprehensive wealth management is, a term that gets thrown out there. And what does that really mean? Well, it means I'm looking at your insurance, I'm looking at your emergency savings, I'm looking at your lifestyle, and I'm actually getting to know you personally as an individual, as a family, and what your needs and goals are, rather than just saying, well, I'm going to talk to you about your savings or your investments. We're going to talk about something bigger picture.
You know, I was talking to a friend the other day who had met with a their own personal financial strategist, what have you. They did a life expectancy on her, and I thought that's a little morbid, but it really shed a lot of light for this person. You know, taking into consideration their health, their family history, what they've worked so far, what their lifestyle is, and how they want to live in retirement. And I thought the whole predicting some type of lifetime expectancy was very interesting. Is that something that you come across a lot? Do you take that into consideration? I mean, that's a
Hashtag life
big-
insurance.
Yeah, that's a big, well, yeah, and I'm sure that that's part of what that goal was that she was
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
achieve, but that's a really big, you don't think about a lot of people in this lifestyle know that everything can change in the blink of an eye, so they are not often thinking about what they're going to do when they're 96, 100, what have you.
But that's the thing. And that's it.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna die. Like,
Well, yes, and as my
The
husband
one
said, you
known.
can't
regardless if it happens tragically or not. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
you know, so you have to be prepared either way. I'm sorry, I cut you off though.
No,
Or
you're fine.
You didn't
Because I
answer
was
her
actually going to
question.
totally tip over to you too in this, because I feel like you have a lot to share in the same subject. I feel like
Right.
when it relates to insurance, you're doing that same sort of planning,
Sure.
right? You're thinking about what life expectancy looks like and what is your lifestyle like. And certainly those are all variables we're looking at when we sit down with you and talk about goals and priorities. And you said, you know, everybody is going to die. You're right. That's like the one thing we all know around this
Right.
table, right? We
Yeah.
are at some point inevitably going to die. So it's not that comfortable to talk about, but it is a reality. It's the one known thing in your entire life. So I feel like that's something that is an easy conversation. And I don't know, you probably have a lot to share on that subject though too.
Well, I mean, you know, two things. Looping back to like one of our prior shows about self-care, which everybody really loved that one. I mean, realize that this is part of your self-care is having a plan.
Good point.
And to, I mean, I don't know. I sleep better at night knowing that if something happened, like my kids have, there's a list of things, you know what I mean? So I've organized for that.
Miss Jamie, do you have a will?
Yes.
Did you just get one the last month? No.
No.
I thought we talked about it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a will yet.
That wasn't me, girl. I had a will
I
for
don't
like
know.
3 years.
Yeah. I need to change mine. Mine's been like 15 years old.
Yeah.
but yeah.
I mean, I've got a will and a trust.
You go, girl.
And yeah, I mean, again, that was just something that was very important to me personally at the time, because it was me and my son.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Oh, that's right,
I
before.
had to have
Yeah.
a plan. Like if something happened to me, like there had to be instructions on what was going to happen to and for him. But when you become a parent, obviously that's something that's pretty predominant. There's a drive in
right.
you to want to make sure all of those things are finished. And again, this is a part of your self-care. I mean, we offer services that are a part of that too, because I sleep better at night knowing that all of those things are taken care of. And then I've got, you know, that I've got correct insurance limits or whatever the case might be. This is a part of my self-care too. Looping back really quickly to what you were saying about the availability of product, if you will, available out there too. I think that's a really good thing, because when you pay into your deferred comp or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to retire at the minute that I can. You need to look at that and say, what does that mean for my retirement? Oh, maybe I should stay on for 2 or 3 more years. Let's
Right.
talk about health insurance. You know, what are we going to do after that happens? You know, are you going to get another job? I mean, just all of those things, like you're preparing for that, right? So again, for me, and I know probably for us, it's just a part of of our life and again, how I sleep better at night.
Yeah, I can honestly say to me, no, at the beginning, I didn't have the extra money to save or put money into additional deferred comp back in the day. I mean, most people who's raising their children do not have this kind of extra money. So I feel like this is all like,
but even $20
fairy tale when you're older. Like now in my 40s, it's different.
But
Sure.
even $20 makes a difference over 30 years.
$23 is what I started investing.
No, that's good.
$23
But that's
a
my
month.
whole point. Like they just need to invest anything, whether it's 10 or 23.
Yeah.
I feel like most people think, oh my gosh, if I don't invest a certain amount of money, it's not even worth it.
So that's what they say is the beauty of compounding interest. There's like old adages about if you invest a penny today, it becomes $1 million by the time you get to retirement or whatever the calculation is. But I think the reality behind that is true. The premise behind that fable is true. That if you invest today, the interest will compound over time. And there's a beauty in that you will not realize if you don't start today. That was the best advice that I got when I first met with the folks from my team, just as a client, was I don't care what you do, but do something today. I don't care what the amount is, but do something today. And I would argue that's true, even if it's not about the dollars and cents. A financial plan or planning in general is not just about the dollars and cents. It's also about a strategy and a game plan. And it's about getting your will and setting up a fireproof safe and getting a family organizer together so you know where your important documents are. It's about making sure you have a team assembled, a great CPA, a great attorney, a great real estate agent, a great mortgage lender, a great insurance representative, really making sure you've got a whole team of people that you know and trust and everyone on your family knows how to contact them. So it's bigger than just how much can I put back today.
Right.
The conversation should be bigger than that.
And always make sure that the person you're putting in charge, if something were to happen to you, your executor, your next of kin, whatever, that you always tell them where all of your documents are. You know, when I first started out doing all of this, I mean, it's been over 20 years ago when I started, doing my will and started investing. The first thing I did was call my mom. If something ever happens to me, here's everything you need to know. She's like, why are you telling me this? I'm like, because if something happens to me, I trust you at this point. And you need to know where everything is so you can help me take care of what needs to be done. So it was
No pressure.
Yeah, I know. I was like, she did not want
Hope
to
you're
have
good.
that conversation with me, but I trusted her and I knew that she would take care of what needed to be taken care of and she would be unbiased and do what was right. So that's why I put her in charge of knowing where all of my things are.
Just like, is there instructions of how to get in the safe?
Yes.
Seriously, I struggle getting in my safe.
I know.
So I'm always like, where's that paper? 3 times, 1, 2. I mean, it takes me 10 times.
Yeah.
We even have the push button one, and I still
Maybe
have to do it multiple times.
Maybe
because
Jim
it's
changes it
fickle.
on purpose.
He probably does. He does have some stuff up in there.
Does he sleep with one eye open too?
Probably.
Don't they all?
Yeah.
Don't
Seriously.
they
Pretty
all?
funny.
Well, I think that the takeaway to all of this, and I want you to have your final words too, of wisdom for all of us, but is it's
No pressure.
never too early to start investing. No amount is too small. And what would you say to somebody that really needs to get it together?
I think find a good partner. Don't be afraid of education. Know that no one is going to judge what you have or do not have. At least someone who's good never would do that. Really, it's about just trying to make sure that everybody understands what the big picture looks like. So take that first step and at least arrange a meeting and go from there.
So now that you're in this position, really quick, what would you change in your early teens, or your early 20s? Like, what would you change knowing what you know now?
Oh boy,
That's
that's
a good one.
great question. I think I would have been more deliberate about progressively increasing what I was putting into my own retirement. I think started that at the point where I met with someone in my field now. But if I would have started that when I was young and progressively went up incrementally every year when I got a pay increase, I would have not felt it as much. And I would have been increased to a point now where I was putting back a pretty significant sum. But because I started late, I feel like I'm playing a little bit of catch up sometimes. So I think meeting with someone early and having that conversation so you know what that would look like and doing that young can make a
when you're
huge
in your early
impact.
20s, you're thinking about where you're going out that night, like
Exactly.
your outfit you're about to buy,
Your,
Starbucks.
your Chevy Silver. What
Right.
do they call it? What does that comedian call it?
The what?
Chevy
Silverado.
Silverado.
So what would you suggest parents, like at a young age, like how do you teach children to save or budget?
That's a good one.
I mean,
Great question too. So don't be afraid to talk about it in front of your children. I think that is usually the fear that parents have is I don't want to intimidate them. I don't want to talk about this. College planning is a great opportunity to engage your children in the dialogue about how do I start to plan for my future. I have a lot of parents that as kids start employment, they'll actually offer to match contributions to
Yeah.
529s, things like that to help kids understand the importance of saving, and helping your children establish a good credit history is also really critical and something that gets overlooked. And I would imagine several of us around the table would agree with that. So finding a way to help them understand credit, whether it's being a cosigner on a small credit card, teaching them how to use it properly. I think those things are really like a good starting point. Yeah. I mean, you got to work closely. It can't be like, here's your credit card. Good luck. Because I know what I would have done with that too.
Right.
But I think,
but when you're like 5 or you're 7, 8 doing chores, like, should you as a parent say, okay, here's your allowance? Does anybody give allowance anymore?
Well, he gets $1 every Friday for the ice cream treat. So he has to clean the trash.
I mean, Jimmy don't do nothing and he gets everything. But I'm just like wondering, like, do you take a percentage out to save? Like, did you, like, to me, I wish I would have done things differently, even though I still have one left at 13. I'm just like, whatever. The other 3.
Well, I mean, personally too, and I haven't talked a lot about like me personally, but I'm a pretty charitable person. I care a lot about giving back. So not just saving, but doing the right thing for other people. So I try to teach him to give back, save too. I have a 4-year-old at home, so give back, save, and then have some for yourself too. I think all 3 of those categories are pretty important.
Does he give back his toys?
We make him give back toys, yes, but we also do have 3 separate savings for him. So he has a little piggy bank, one for saving, one for himself, and one for to give to others. And I think if you can do something like that with your little ones and teach them the importance of giving back, but also saving for your future, it matters.
That's perfect.
That's a really great plan, and it teaches kids that you don't have to want for something because something's going to be there, but it gives them a well-rounded attitude and makes them more charitable if they know they still have something to be comfortable with.
Absolutely, and it helps them set a goal, right? That's the whole part of financial planning that sometimes gets overlooked is you've got to set a goal and work towards it. So that personal one is really something. If he wants a new Lego set or he wants something, we teach him how to save for that and how to be frugal with the spare change he's getting. So he can use it for something that's purposeful.
And it's all about age appropriateness too. So at that age, it's kind of a give and take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I've said this before. My daughter's like in the audience, our only viewer in the audience right now.
We have an audience today.
No. So when they were younger, they would want something at the store. You go through the grocery store. So I would buy it and put it in a mommy store. And then like when you guys, do you remember that?
You've told me about this, and it was such a great idea.
I would put it in a laundry basket, and they would be able to come and take out.
You did tell us.
I like that.
Yeah, they had to earn it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I made them 3 do it. They've been working since they've been 15. Jimmy, poor Jimmy, 13 doesn't even pick up a towel.
The last one is always different.
I'm tired.
Wears you down.
She says that all the time. Poor Hunter's over here like shaking her hands and like, but it's.
she's the older sister. Says, Jimmy, you're so lucky. You didn't have to do this when you were
No,
little.
but you know what they do? They'll call me and say, "Can I pick him up for lunch or the movies?" I'm like, "Sure." And then all of a sudden he's like, "Bye," and he comes back and, "Can I have your debit card?" I'm like, that's why they asked you to go.
Oh, so that mommy will pay.
Your brother's the worst.
Jimmy needs 3 jars. Okay, Shannon. We're gonna start with the jar thing for him.
No. Oh my gosh. So thank you for joining us. That's very
So
nice.
much.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
So much information.
That's fun.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, do you have an email, a way that somebody can contact you?
I can give a phone number that they can reach me at, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So you can reach me at 419-233-2930. That's my personal cell so that you can get me anytime. I know our schedules are crazy, so it's really difficult to reach me during office hours for some of us. So that way you can reach me anytime you might need access.
Okay, repeat your number real quick.
419-233-2930.
It's almost like that song.
Yeah.
What's that one song?
2930.
Yeah.
I don't know what song you're talking about.
Yeah. Jenny.
I don't know. That's my era.
Right? Yeah, the Jenny song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny. I'm not going to sing on there.
That's all right.
Anyway,
That was a good rendition.
oh goodness.
Oh, so Amy, how would they get a hold of us, our viewers, if they want to reach out to us?
We are your BlueLine Wives roll call, and you can reach us at the BlueLine Group of Ohio at gmail.com and our Facebook page, and we're also on the LEPD website, or Facebook page, sorry, that's what you're viewing us today.
We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram.
You can find us
all over the
everywhere.
place.
Yeah. Just Google.
Yeah.
Just Google.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we're talking about next week. I guess we'll just swing it because that's what we're good for. We'll just swing whatever conversation comes up.
I promise you, we will get you a list of topics that
That's
we're
no
going to
fun.
talk about. You know what? It is kind of fun just to kind of,
Yeah, because you just never know what's going to come up in life.
I think that with
for us planners.
I am a planner, but I think that I plan a little bit, but then we do well
You know,
with just
actually, I
us.
was have an idea. What about this? What about, because I struggle with it sometimes, because again, we're human. You know, when you're arguing or tiffing with your spouse, you always want to let them know you love them because you never know when the last time you're going to see them.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
So like, wonder how we like all handle it.
That's a good one.
You know, 'cause
That's
I ain't
a
gonna
good
lie, girl,
one.
sometimes I'm like, deuces.
Let's talk about that next week. That's a good one. How to show love when you're in an argument.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
That's what we're
See, we
talking
got
about
it. See,
next
it's all
week.
planned. See?
Okay.
That goes
Got it for our
all back
planners.
to my challenge for all of you people today. Show love even to the people that don't deserve it. You will not regret it.
Yes, yes. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ladies.
We are your Blue Line group with your Blue Line Wives Roll Call podcast. Until next time, we will see you later.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye. Thanks, Hunter, for being our audience.